Okay, and here we go. So, Cyrus the Great. Remember, he is going to be born in 580 BC, and he's going to die in 530 BC. So that means we have to remember that in BC, it's like negative numbers. The bigger the number, the longer ago it was. So it goes backwards. And by 550, when he's 30 years old, he's finished conquering. He's wound up creating one of the largest empire the world had seen at this time. And so people considered him a military genius. He didn't do it on his own, of course. He did a lot of this conquering with Harpagus. Yes, the one that was supposed to kill him and then didn't, and then helped him overthrow his grandfather, Astyages. And his empire, I'm never going to ask you how much miles it's going to be, so you don't have to worry about that, but it's going to be over 2,000 miles long, stretching from the Indus River in the east to Egypt and Greece in the west, which is pretty incredible. And here's the thing. I said this yesterday. Cyrus earns the title the Great because not only does he conquer a lot of land, which I think is pretty arguable to say, typically those people who call the great just because they conquered really truly weren't great. They were probably actually more the bad, the terrible, the mean, the cruel. Cyrus was kind to the people he ruled. You know, people saw him as a liberator, someone saving them, freeing them from the previous regimes that they had. Sometimes they had less taxes under the Persian Empire than they did on the original empire. They were able to keep their local customs, their religions, sometimes even their local leaders. For example, if Aaron was the mayor of a city that Cyrus conquered, he still might keep Aaron in charge because Aaron already knows how to run it and goes and just says, okay, Aaron, now your taxes, instead of going to that last king, now it goes to me. And so it keeps things where people's lives, they don't change very much. You know, Kaylin is still able to practice whatever religion she had beforehand. She doesn't have to pay special taxes. She doesn't have to do anything different. She can just stay herself. So Cyrus really wound up being quite a good ruler. The Greeks are going to call him lawgiver. I mean, think about it. The Greeks, he conquered part of them, but yet he still goes and says lawgiver, gives them a good title. They don't have to speak nicely about him. It's not like he's going and paying them to go and, write nice things. Drives me crazy, Daniel. When I get him, I have him for like an hour. It's the worst. We already talked about Cyrus with how he let the Jews return back from Babylon. He ends the Babylonian exile, saying, if you want to go home, you can, which is pretty incredible. The Jews are going to call him the anointed one of the Lord. And in a moment, we're actually going to look at a primary source taken from the Old Testament to go and see what they say about Cyrus. So, I mean, these are people that don't have to say nice things about Cyrus. They go, but they are, because Cyrus was typically pretty good. So let's go and move on here. You don't have to write any of this here, but this is actually from the book of Ezra, Ezra 1. This is the word of Cyrus, king of Persia. The Lord God of heavens has given me all the kingdoms of the earth, and he himself has charged me to build him a house at Jerusalem in Judah. To every man of his people now among you I say, God be with him, and let him go up to Jerusalem and Judah and rebuild the house of the Lord God of Israel, the God whose city is in Jerusalem. So, what does this say about Cyrus? So just looking at this quote coming from the Hebrew Bible, the Jews, the Old Testament, what does this say about Cyrus? What kind of ruler is he? What do you think, Caleb?
I think that even though he would have conquered, I think that he would still be like a nice ruler, considering how we've seen that like he's still letting them practice their faith and all their customs and not taking over. He's just saying like, just do these like couple things for me because I just conquered you. Like he's not completely changing like other rulers. when other rulers, like when Rome conquered like different places, he would make them change their religion, and he would like, and some rulers would just like destroy some of their like sacred places and just make
Yeah,
them follow a new religion. But he's letting them keep their customs and not changing as much for them, rather than other rulers. They're like trying to change a lot for them, and they'd have to like try and practice their faith like in secret. Rather, he's just letting them practice their faith freely.
definitely. Yeah, when we talked about when the Romans will conquer, they destroy the temple again that gets rebuilt. When the Chaldeans conquered, they destroyed the temple. So very good. He's helping them even rebuild it and live out their faith. Awesome. All right, so that's actually our notes for today. Like I said, it's a short amount of notes compared to yesterday.